Hi, welcome to my channel and to my Full Monty show. Today's guest is the AR-15 M4. What I normally do in the show, I start off with a field stripping and then I follow it up with a detailed strip down of the rest of the gun. And because of that, it's quite lengthy, and that's why I would only do disassembly and not reassembly. However, if there's a point where I think that it will help you in reassembling of a certain part, I would talk more about it. Otherwise, it would be just disassembly. And also because of the length of the video, I always separate the FCG and the bolt disassembly onto another video. So why don't we start? Let's remove the magazine first. I always make sure the hammer is backwards. Okay, there are two pins on the left, one here, one over here. They're captive. Press the one on the back, pull the pin to the right, and the lower should pivot down. Push the one in the front, pull it to the right, and the lower and the upper should separate. Let's ignore the lower for now. To remove the carrier, pull the charging handle backwards 2 to 3 inches, and then slide the carrier back and out. Push the charging handle forward. On the left side of the carrier is a cotter pin. Use a punch and pull the cotter pin straight out. And then the firing pin should slide out, no problem. To remove the bolt, there's a bolt pin right here. Push the bolt back, okay, and then turn the pin 45 degrees so it's facing front back. Use a punch and pull it straight up. Now you can slide the entire bolt forward. You can see the extractor's right here, the ejector's right there. This is your carrier, and I actually want to show you what the bolt looks like when it's assembled with the fire pin in it. Okay, there's a hole right there on the bolt pin. Make sure it's front back facing the hole. Now slide the firing pin in, okay, and the cotter pin sits right about there, holding the firing pin in. Alright, so this is as far as you go when it comes to field stripping, okay, and next, strip down, complete strip down, detailed strip down, and I'll be back. I am back. Now let's start with removing the furniture. The handguard first, then the grip, then the stock. And to remove the handguard, the ring back here retains the handguard. You push it straight down, backwards. Okay. And it's quite difficult, and these handguard is top and bottom, and you just pull them up, the first one, pull them up one at a time like this, and then you do the bottom like that. Okay, they're both identical, so it doesn't matter which way you put it back. Okay. Now let's start with the next one is the grip. Need a medium to long screwdriver, and there's a screw inside, and this happened to be a Magpul grip. Just stick this in and unscrew, and be careful. There's a spring that pops up. Okay. The spring is on the left side, right here. And what it does is that it pushes against an indent. Okay. And actually, this is what it looks like. It's right there. And this is the spring. Okay. And it goes into the hole here in the grip. It's actually a little longer than this. This is a temporary spring. And here is the hole the spring actually go into, like this, like that. It pushes against the indent, and you have to be a little careful. And this is what the selector indent looks like. Okay, now that is the grip. Now on to the stock. To remove the stock, you first need to remove the buffer, and to do that, there's a little buffer stop right here. Push down on it like this, and this will pop forward. Hold it by your thumb, and it will come forward like that. Pull out the whole spring. Okay. Remove that. Now that doesn't pop up because the buffer tube is still holding it down. Okay. Next, extend the stock. And what you need is a tool like this. You can buy it anywhere, Amazon, AliExpress, and you need to unloosen this castle nut. And use this part, like right here, put it into one of the cutouts and start turning. Now be careful, there's a spring under this piece right here. This piece right here, under here, there's a spring, and it's a very delicate spring. So try to put your finger on that plate while you unscrew the castle nut. And that spring will actually push on the plate, as you can see right there. This is on the right side. Okay. And that spring also pushes on an indent for this receiver pin. Okay. So when you have enough space, you could tilt it, turn the buffer tube a little bit, and pull it out. Okay. As you can tell, it's very delicate. Already lost 1/8 of an inch off this end, but it still works. That's quite easy to damage. Okay. And then there is a pin that comes out. There it is. There's that pin that spring is pushing up against. And that pin holds this receiver pin, and it slides out. Okay. Notice one side of the shaft, there's a groove. Okay, now once you get here, you can start to unscrew, but put your finger so this buffer stop doesn't jump out. So of course, unscrew like this. Now once it gets to a point where it will come up by itself, like this. Okay, this is a buffer stop, and this is a buffer stop spring. Continue to unscrew the buffer tube out of the receiver, and that's what it is. See the hole there? That's where the spring came from. This is what it looks like. Okay, so let's start disassembling the buttstock. That's the plate. Castle nut. I'm going to start pushing everything forward to make room. To remove the stock from the tube, what I normally do is stick a screwdriver back here and pull up on it like this and just tilt till the tube falls out. Okay, that's the buffer tube. There's nothing more you can do there. Now, with this stock, to remove this lever, there's a pin right here, right under this screw. You need to punch to the right, and I do have a 1/16 punch, and I got a hammer here, and I need to hammer that pin through, and this is what it is. Once the punch can't go any further, I use a sharper punch, and I insert it into the same spot. And here it's coming out. And I wonder if I can pull that out with a pair of pliers. Yes, it all came out. It's a roll pin, very tiny one. Okay, next you just basically unscrew this thing. It comes off. This the lever, and inside through this hole. Actually, I'm just going to stick it in and pull it out. That's it. And this is what was inside. And here I'll assemble it so you can see. Okay. And the pin goes in, stops it from loosening it out. And there's a hole right there. Okay, I'm gonna keep them together. Okay, next is I need an Allen wrench for this. I got a 3mm Allen wrench, and you basically unscrew this. Okay, so with the buttstock, I'm done. I'm done with the furniture. And next, I'm going to start working on, let's see, the lower. Now to remove the front pin. This pin is not interchangeable with the back pin. It's the same size, but except it's shorter. Okay, so, and the 1/16 punch would not work. Okay, the 1/16 punch is too big. So I managed to have a precision screw driver, a small one, and I sharpened the ends, got rid of the flat head. And what you need to do is stick this into this hole right there. Okay. And what you need to do, there's an indent right here in the receiver. This is what this bulge is for. Push that in and then pull out the pin. Okay. So here we go. We go like that. And then push, pull out to the right. And be careful, because it will jump. Okay, there it is. Okay, that's the pin. And it did jump. Here's the indent. And by the way, this indent and the one that's for the back is identical, so they are interchangeable. But I'm going to keep them separate. And the spring also looks identical. Yes, the spring are identical, except as I mentioned before, I cut off accidentally 1/8 of an inch. I damaged that. So the spring and the indent are both interchangeable. Okay, so that's done. Next, let's remove the mag catch. And to do that, you press on the button on the right side. Okay. Press as far as you can, and then lift the mag catch on the left side and start turning counterclockwise. You have to push it quite far to overcome the BHO. Okay, but you can. Okay, so here we are. Keep turning till it separates, and it does. And the catch itself, the one on the right side, that's what it looks like here. It's basically a screw with a spring. Okay. You're not completely disassembled the mag catch yet. It looks like this, and what you need to do is separate the shaft from the secondary catch, and to do that you just use the 1/16 of a punch and just press it like this, but make sure you hold on the spring and just push this all the way through like that. And that's the pin that holds the shaft and the secondary mag catch. And then pull the punch out, and underneath you'll find, oops, I gotta go look for that spring. I'll be back. I am back. I spent 5 minutes looking for this bloody spring, and where the spring goes is into this piece right here. The spring has a wider end and a narrow end. The wider end goes into this hole right there, like that. Okay, right here. And the narrow end goes in this part right here. Okay. So to put it in, put in this part in first, and then as you can see, it goes in like that. And then you get this pin right here, and you put it in this hole right there. Push it in. Okay, I need to pull this out first. Push it in, and then it's a little awkward here. Okay, there it is. It's in now. Okay, that's what it looks like. Okay. I decided to also get a magnet bowl because this gun, that's one thing I hate about the AR-15, has lots of tiny springs and pins and that flies off on you in comparison to its counterpart, the AK-47. The Type 81, the VZ58, they have very little small spring and small pins. So let's carry on. Next is the BHO. We're going to remove this BHO. And to do that, you need a 3/32 punch. And you put it from here. Okay, like that. And I already started, as you can see. Now make sure when you punch the roll pin out, you have your finger on the BHO because it's under tension and it's gonna jump. Okay, so now hold the BHO down. You can feel it. It's about to jump. And there it is. This is what the BHO looks like. Okay, I'm going to leave it right here. And here is another indent. And this is the spring for that indent. Okay, so that takes care of the BHO, and if you can leave the roll pin in, do so. Less chance of having it lost. Next is the trigger guard. Okay, again, use the same 3/32 punch and punch it out. Hold it down. This is the roll pin for the trigger guard. Okay, I'm going to put this in the magnet bowl. Okay, now to remove this bar, use the same 3/32, and you'll notice it doesn't protrude. It looks like a pin, but it's not really a pin. And you want to push it down while still holding on to the trigger guard. Okay, so you hold it like this, push this down, and careful, it's probably spring loaded. Yep, it is spring loaded. Luckily it's not jumping out. Okay, it seems okay, it's captive. So it is captive. And if you want to remove this pin, and it's spring loaded, as you can tell, there's a really tiny pin, as you can see. It's even smaller than the 1/16. So there's no way I could use this. And I would have to use a really tiny punch to punch that out. Okay, so I'm not going to bother doing that. Okay. So, that takes care of the lower. Okay, there's nothing else for me to do other than the FCG, which I will do on a different video. But basically, as far as the lower concerned, this is all done. Next is the upper. I am now ready to disassemble the upper, and before I start doing that, I want to mention when you're putting the top handguard back, do the top one first and then the bottom one. Okay, as you notice, I have got this upper all clamped down on a vise, and let's do the disassemble the easiest part, which is the carrying handle. And you have these two big knobs on the left side of the receiver. Just unscrew them and they'll come out like this. Pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to disassemble from here on. Okay, just leave them intact like that. And then to remove the charging handle, pull it and then tilt down, okay, and then slide out. What happens is these two raised area on either side of the charging handle will match an opening, and then it dips down. And right here, now I'll strip that down a little further after I've done with the rest of the upper. Okay, let's talk about, I have this upper by the barrel clamped down. Make sure you're clamping it by the barrel, and you're not clamping anything that's that you could end up bending. And using the same combo tool as this, I'm going to remove the flash hider now. Okay, flash hider is right here. This is an A1 flash hider, and you would use this opening right here. Okay, because this opening would not be big enough, so you have to use this one. And you would just put her like this and then turn. Okay, so you keep doing this. Now I can turn it by hand. Okay, this is your A1 flash hider, bird cage. This is your locking washer. Next, while you still have it clamped on, I'm just going to show you right on the side of the gas block right here. Let me move them a little further, like that. Right here, it holds this gas tube, okay? This gas tube, and using the same 1/16 punch, insert it in and start punching. Okay. And I punched out a really tiny roll pin. Okay. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to pull, I'm going to release this from the vise. I have moved the vise out of the way just to show you where that roll pin came from the gas block. It's right here. Okay. Now once you get the pin out, and I showed you what it looks like, it's a skinny small roll pin, you grab the gas tube and pull back. Yeah, sometime because the carbon it might stick, but you should pull it straight back. Once you clear the front furl, like that, rotate it so it now clears the front side block. Now you can pull it forward and it should come out. Sometimes it gets hung up back here because of a lip at the end. All you have to do is just, there it is. There it comes out. And this is what I mean about this little lip at the end. As you can see, it's raised, and that's where it gets hung up. Here I want to show you where the cross pin that holds this gas tube is. It's this one right here. It's about a little less than 1/4 of an inch from the front, and it goes actually all the way through to the other side. There's another bigger hole about 5/8 from the front, and that's your where gas comes in from. Obviously you're going to clean this before you put it back in, and also clean the holes back here, and best to use the cigar cleaning cigar cleaning, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a little brush, and so you just, it's long, and you just try to clean it as much as you can. And after that, the side block can't be removed because it's pinned, permanently pinned. And in this particular case, the front swivel is also seemed to be permanent. There's no screws attached to it, so that's not removable. And because the front gas block, sight block is not removable, this front furl can't be removed, nor this handguard retaining ring. That can't be removed either because it's a ring, and it obviously it's not going to be able to come out. And there are springs behind it. Now, they may be, sometimes you might accidentally rotate, as you can see, rotate this this retaining ring. It has to be in a certain position. It has to be, at the top, because that's where the tube goes in. But also, in doing so, you can also accidentally move these springs in a different location. And then you're going to have a hard time inserting this back in because the spring is out of alignment, and so is the ring, this retaining ring. As you can see, there is a hole for the gas tube right here, and that has to be straight up. And now I insert this in, this punch, and it's still not going in, and that is because the spring back here is not lined up. As you can see, there's an opening here in the spring, and it's on this side. It should also be on the top. So now I gotta move the spring. If you don't line these up, you're not gonna be able to put the tube back in. Okay, so now I'm gonna insert, let's see, yep. Now I'm gonna insert this punch, and it should go, well, it's not going because they're just moving all over the place. I'm just gonna hold this and try to move the spring. There's a spring back here that needs to be lined up. If it's not lined up, it can't, oops, it jumped out of place. There it is. I'm going to try to hold the spring and make sure I rotate this retaining ring. With my thumb, I'm holding on to the spring. Okay, and I'm rotating the ring right to the top. And now I'm going to insert the punch, and now you can see the punch goes all the way through. Okay, so I know you're going to have a little difficulty if these are not lined up properly. You're not going to be able to put it back. Okay, but otherwise it goes back in the same way you got it out. The only thing I would caution you when you're putting back putting back in, here actually I'll do it for you actually. Okay. See, the front side of this is bent. Okay. So when it's bent out towards the right, put it on the right side of the sight block. Now insert that thing in. Make sure it's lined up. It's now going in. Push it all the way back like this. Now make sure this front furl has not rotated, and you can see there's a hole, and it lined up with that hole where the gas comes through. Now make sure this tube is bent down. Okay, it bend down, and then you pull it forward, and then push it all the way through, and you can see through the hole. It comes through. I can see it. Keep pushing it in till you go all the way across. If you have difficulty, then you have to do it again. It's not going to be that easy, because you need to put this pin back in. Here it is. Now I pushed it too far. Just pull it back a little bit. And once you pull it back in, use this as a guide to make sure you got that in proper position, and then you can finally stake it. Okay, so that's how you put that back in. Okay, now as far as this ejection cap concerned, you can't remove that because this pin that it pivots on comes out forward. And you can't remove that pin because of these rings are in the way. So that's not removable. However, there's a little clip here, a plunger, that can be removed, but I'm not going to remove it because it's held in by a C-clip right on the top. Right on top of this plunger with a spring inside is held in by a C-clip. And it's a very tiny one, and I know if in removing that, I will definitely mangle up the C-clip. And therefore, I don't want to do that because I don't have a spare C-clip. Okay, so that's how you remove that, the plunger that holds the cover. Okay. As far as the removing the cover concerned, you can't do that without removing the whole barrel and everything. So that stays. Now, as far as the forward assist concerned, there's a hole right at the bottom right here. Using a 3/32 punch it out. Make sure you hold on to the, there it is. Again, another roll pin. This time it's about 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch. And there it is. See the punch come right through. Make sure you put your finger on it because it will jump out. Carefully release it. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Here's the spring, and this is what the forward assist looks like. Again, there is a really tiny pin across here, and you have to, again, it's like a tiny roll pin. You push that out with a hammer, and this thing will come off, and there looks like a plunger in there and looks like a spring. Again, I'm not gonna remove that because I might have, I'll probably end up mangling that really tiny roll pin, and I would have difficulty putting that back in. Okay, so that's basically about it. There's nothing else in here to be concerned with. And now it's simple to put this back in. If you see this little cut here, that's where the pin goes in and holds this thing in. Okay, so that's very simple. Just to put that back in, just insert this back in like this and just shove it right in. Okay, like that. Just hold it back, press it in, and then put that in. It's very simple. Not too complicated. Okay, the last thing that's left is this little tiny pin that holds the catch on the charging handle. Okay, again, it's quite tiny. Let's see if I can use the 1/16 of an inch. It won't work. Okay, you need something less than 1/16 of an inch. So again, I'm not gonna bother, okay, because I don't have a proper punch to punch that that pin out, and it's less than 1/16 of an inch. Amazing how small these pins can be, and but you can see very easily it probably has a spring and a plunger under this catch. Okay, so the last thing that's left is the magazine. Okay, this is the back, and it's actually pretty straightforward. You put your punch in the hole and lift it up because of these indents that get hung up on the bottom of the magazine. So if you were to just bend it a bit like this out and then push it forward, there it is, like that. I moved it up a little bit, as you can see. There are those dents on the bottom plate, as you can see, clear to the bottom of the mag. And now you just push it forward. It's quite stiff. Okay, actually I'll push it in the back here. There it is. It's pushing in the wrong place. There it is. And that's basically it. You pull that back, clean it, put it back in, and you reinsert this back in. Okay, to remove this, turn it clockwise, okay, like this. And if you rattle it, you can hear there's something there. Now, the reason why I thought I should show you, because I have the original one, and as you can see, the rubber broke off. So you might be able to change the rubber or whatever. So here I'm going to show you what you have to do next. See that pin over there? Now that looks like a 3/32 pin. Yes. And I'm just going to have to punch it out. Okay, here comes out the roll pin again. not spring loaded, so you could actually pull these out. Okay, watch it. Here comes the rubber. This is the hole where the roll pin goes in. Sounds like there's a couple of other pieces in here, and this is just a weight, and it's about 1/2 inch diameter, about 5 inch long, not 5/8 long, 5/8 an inch long, 1/2 inch in diameter. That's one. The small rubber. And then there's another one. That's 1/2 inch in diameter, 5/8 of an inch long. And there's another rubber as a buffer. Same thing, there's another one. And lastly, a rubber padding. So you have 3 of these weights in this buffer itself, and this is the way it's set up. That's basically conclude the full Monty of the AR-15 M4. Thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.